we are down to our last topic for the second module, moral courage. Okay? So we have this following learning competencies. Basahan niyo lang. Okay, what do we mean when we say moral courage? It is the power to act upon a moral situation on the basis of the agent's moral decision. Basically, a moral courage is doing what is right when confronted with a problem. Okay? Ginaubra mo ang insyakto despite the risk, the danger, despite being opposed, despite the rejections, and despite being threatened. You know what? Maybe the best example of a morally courageous person is our frontliners. Okay? Nga, ginaobra nila Japon ang ilang nga duty, especially our medical staffs, no? Ginaobra nila Japon ang ilang nga call as a health practitioner to fight COVID-19 despite the personal threats nga basi maka-acquire man sila sang virus anytime and despite man sang threats sa ilang family nga basi maging potential carrier man sila sang virus sa ilang family. So that takes a lot of moral courage for them to be able to do that. And we should admire people like them. Okay? And of course, hindi man lang nasa class nga sila lang ang maka-practice ng moral courage. We can also practice moral courage anytime and anywhere. Misan ang simple lang act of helping, that's already a moral courage. Okay? Now, there is an absence of moral courage if there is a failure to respond to situations which significantly need his or her response. Nga ra bala nga dapat buligan ta na or buligan mo na, but then huwag ka nagbulig either because you are worrying for your safety or basiya hindi mo na gusto mabother sang situation. Okay? Or simply because basi hindi mo lang di siya feel magbulig. So that's not what moral courage is. Also, if there is inconsistency towards moral conviction, what do we mean by that? Hindi na siya class moral courage if napilitan ka lang ubrahon ang isa ka action. Nagbulig ka tuod pero ging tiklod ka lang or ging push ka lang ni sino. I mean, it's not genuine. Okay? So that's not moral courage. And this is the very common one. It is not a moral courage if the goal of the action is only to impress. This is very common among politicians, whether you would agree or not. Okay? Gabulig sila, gadu sila sa moral actions for the sake of uplifting their image to other people for their own interest. So, hindi na siya dapat amo. Okay, so let us now have the will as important as reason. And i-discuss na ni later on if ano ang connection nila nga duwa sa moral courage na ginatawa. Okay, will is synonymous with voluntariness. And magamba kita class nga reason that the other term for that is intellect. That is the principle of human action. Our reason or the intellect is basically the act or is basically the idea in our mind of what we are going to do or of what we are going to achieve. Okay? So let's say for example, nga nagatuon ka as a student simply because gusto mo makagraduate later on. So ang gusto mo makagraduate or ang idea nga makagraduate ka after sang imong studies, that is your intellect or that pertains to the intellect or the reason. Okay? This is the goal, the vision after or the vision that which we aim to achieve after our action. Next, every agent acts with an end in the mind. That's the reason or the intellect, right? Now, this end moves a person towards achieving that end. And we have the will or the voluntariness being a prerequisite of an action to be considered human or a human action. So ano magamba kita class nga will or voluntariness? It is simply the intrinsic principle moving the agent towards an end or towards the reason of his or her action. So, amo na gani, gusto niyo makagraduate. That's the end or that's the very reason why you are studying. Now, as a student, damo ka mo difficulties, problems nga nag-arise amid your studies. May it be financial, may it be time management, may it be bisan ang diligence niyo sa pag-study, do budlayan pa kamo kung diin nyo na panguwaon, no? Right? But then, ang fact balaklas nga may naga-push through Japan sa inyo to keep on going despite the odds and adversities, that is the will. Kumbaga, ang pagka-determine nimo bala nga ma-surpass tanan-tanan para makagraduate ka gid man sa ulihi, that pertains to the will or the voluntariness. So meaning to say, wala sang iban nga may nagatulod sa imo nga magtuon ka every during your test or every during your exam or every before your test or before your exam, but rather halin na siya sa imo nga matuon ka gid dapat because gusto mo gid malabot ang imo nga end. Okay? Now, in general, na-discussan na naman ni Ligad, no? We have the human act. That is equal to the sum of will and intellect. So meaning to say, without will or without intellect, an action can no longer be considered a human act. There should be the presence of both. Otherwise, act of man na siya. Okay? And it was Saint Thomas Aquinas who differentiated the human act from the act of man. So, ano ang relation ng klasang human act sa moral courage? A moral courage should be an interplay of the reason and will. So meaning to say, when you have the moral conviction and when you are choosing to or when you choose to do what is the right thing which calls for the situation or which calls for the moral situation, kabalo ka sang obrahon nimo, kabalo ka kung ano ang ends ng imo nga action. Kag you have the will, meaning to say, ang moral conviction balakas ang ginatawag halin gid sa imo, hindi tungod kay pilit ka lang ni kung sinoda. So in other words class, moral courage is equated to human action. Kung nag-act of man na siya, hindi na siya moral courage. Okay? I hope it's clear. Now, this is still in relation to the moral courage, okay? So there are two Greek philosophers, Plato and Aristotle, nga nag-share man sa ilang ideas, this time niya on virtues, but i-relate naman ni sila later on sa moral courage. Okay? Plato asserted this innate capacity of a person towards virtues, and according naman niya kay Aristotle, we are influenced by outside forces which are acquired from our environment. Okay? Further, kambal ni Plato class, the nature of a person is already given. And out of this, the person can actually actualize his potentials. So meaning to say, kung suplada ko subong nga tao, example lang na, kung suplada ko bisubong, suplada na ko since birth. No, para sa nabalang nga, kung kabalo ka makanta subong, since birth mo na nga talent, that's innate. Innate, okay? Given na siya. Okay? Kung buot ka subong nga tao, then most likely, buot ka man halin sa bata ka. That is contrary to Aristotle's assertion wherein, according to him, a person should acquire the skills to develop the virtues for personal growth. Like say for example, ang grade 1 na bata, Bisan ano mo naka-explain sa iya sang virtues nga ginatawag, hindi niya na maintindihan unless otherwise maglabot na siya sa state of maturity or nakagain na siya class or may buot na siya pala kumbaga. Amo niya palang na nga time maintindihan ang virtues nga ginatawag. And we cannot deny the fact that we grow because of the influence of our environment. Okay? Dako ginaya nga factor ang environment naton kag ang influence sang society. So amo na class ang hambal ni Aristotle. But you should remember that whether such virtues are innate, iyan ni Plato, or acquired, iyan ni Aristotle, a morally courageous person exhibits the steadfastness of such virtues through the proper exercise of the will. So, regardless kung ano ang ginapatihan nimo, either innate man na siya or acquired, what's important is that you act in accordance to virtues and to morality. You act upon the call of morality nga if ang situation binaga needs ang ibong moral response, then so be it. Be a morally courageous person without any hesitations. Okay? Next, finally, we have the doctrine of the mean by Aristotle. In mathematics, mean pertains to the average. It is a balance between a surplus of virtues and a lacking of vices. Also, it is an equilibrium between any excesses and a practice of moderation. So, ang muna ang hambal ni Aristotle sa doctrine of the mean. Aristotle sees life as a practice of moderation. Amo na siya dapat ang ideal. Meaning to say, law ay ang sobra, law ay man ang kulang, sakto lang, mean, average ka lang dapat. Law ay ang busog-busog ka, law ay man kung gutom ka. Ang tama lang. Law ay kung buot-buot ka, law ay man kung hindi ka buot. Okay? Kagamba ni Aristotle class, there is a virtue in between any form of excesses. Okay? So, amo na siya ang doctrine of the mean. So, meaning to say, kita nga tao, hindi kita dapat magpasobra sa life, hindi man kita magpakakulang. Okay? So, that ends our lesson for moral courage. Thank you.